Hey guys!
Hey!
So today we're going to take you through step by step how to buy a house.
Yeah, this is such an important part of the wealth building journey and a critical part on that journey towards financial independence. We just want to make sure that you fully understand how to go about buying your first home. This is so important because, before you've even gone down that route of maybe investing through the stock market, for a lot of people, buying a home is usually the very first thing.
And we're usually talking to you guys about how to become mortgage free, but we thought, you know what, let's just take it back. Let's take it all the way back, especially if you're a first time buyer and you want to get on a property ladder. Stay tuned because this video is for you. And if you're not quite there yet, if you're not quite ready to buy a property, we're going to also talk you through how to go about saving for your deposit so that you can, when you are ready, get onto that property ladder.
Hey, if you've been watching our channel for some time, come on, what's holding you back? Hit that subscribe button because it really helps to encourage many more people to support and help us grow our channel. My name is Ken.
And I'm Mary.
Of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. What we do on this channel, guys, is to give you guys the tips, the insights, the practical hacks to help you guys work towards a dream life of financial independence and money joy. Our journey towards financial independence began with actually buying our own property. It was one of those very earliest things we did. And we began that journey in 2012. Yep. This is when we began that journey of owning a home. And that journey can seem a bit daunting. So we're going to just walk you through step by step now so that you can make the right decisions and make that journey a lot easier.
So the first step to getting on the property ladder is to hustle, budget and save for your property deposit.
Yeah, that hustle bit is so important, right? Because for a lot of people, this is actually the hardest step towards buying a property, finding that deposit to put down. This is the thing that holds a lot of people back. And we found, though, that having a game plan really helps with this. It could be that you are maybe running various side hustles, but essentially you've got to come up with a game plan of putting your finances in place, budgeting your money, and essentially having a savings plan. And when we were doing this, we came up with a game plan of save X amount of money each month so that by this time we will have a certain amount to put down for a deposit. What kind of percentages can people put down as a deposit?
Well, you can put down anything from 5% to 25% down. It all depends on what you're working with. So for example, if you put down a 10% deposit on a property, say worth £400,000, then you would need to save up £40,000 for your deposit on that property.
It's worth mentioning as well that things such as a lifetime ISA is very important for first-time buyers. Okay, this is something that's helping a lot of people right now. You can save up to £4,000 per year into a lifetime ISA with a quarter of that 25% coming from the government, and that quarter has a cap of £1,000. So altogether, you can save up £4,000, but £1,000 is coming from the government. With the help of that, it can help to somewhat accelerate that journey towards you building up your savings and buying your first property. Okay, so step 2 is to figure out how much mortgage monies you can actually borrow. And there's so much that goes into this. Things such as what your level of income is, how much deposit money you've got, and what your credit score is. Yes, your credit score is absolutely critical in helping you decide how much you can actually borrow. What else affects this?
Well, also put in consideration when you're thinking of how much you can afford, things such as surveying and conveyancing, which is part of the process in buying a property, which we'll talk about later on. So step 3 is to research on your ideal location from that program. This is such a biggie actually, because there are so many things that you need to consider. For example, for us, we hadn't started a family yet, but we knew that we were going to. So proximity to good schools was important. So where
catchment
the house
areas.
is within the catchment area, exactly, of the good schools in the area. Also, things such as transportation.
Yes.
So we were both working in a city at the time, and we knew that we'd be commuting into London.
Yes.
One of the big things for us was that we wanted to be close enough to a station without having to drive to the station.
We wanted to be able to walk.
We wanted to be able to walk, and that was a big factor for us as well.
Other things such as where you actually buy, i.e. the exact location. So are you buying in a major city like London, for example, or are you buying outside of London or just on the outskirts? So we, for example, bought our home just on the outskirts of London, which has helped us massively on our journey towards becoming mortgage free. If you've not seen that video, I'll put a link to it below and above for you to go and check that video out. And I'm mentioning that because, for example, today we're out in London. I'm just going to share some of the views we're seeing right now. I'm going to put it up on the screen. We're enjoying London. We don't necessarily have to live in London, but we bought our house a lot cheaper just on the outskirts while still experiencing the growth that you might experience by buying a property in London itself.
We can literally walk 5 minutes and we're in London, but we're not paying the London prices.
Correct.
So, do you want to live in a buzzy kind of area where there's a lot of nightlife going on and excitement?
Shops and restaurants.
Local shops and restaurants. So for us, we wanted to live like on a really quiet road. And so when we chose the area that we wanted, we would drive around the area during the day. We'll drive around the area at night time.
On this video.
But yeah, we'll go into that in more detail.
Yeah, things such as crime stats as well. So platforms like Zoopla and things like that, Rightmove, give you information, bit of information around that sort of stuff. Just do your own research around what the area's like. Have there been issues of flood in the past? Are there any big kind of infrastructure things about to be built around the area? For example, are they about to start to build a block of flats around the area and things like that? Just do a bit of research around that because location is everything.
So guys, one of the best things that we did was to register with Rightmove and also with Zoopla. So with Rightmove, we could look at the map and we could literally draw the map of exact location that we wanted to live in. So we knew the area and we could zoom in to a specific location and set alerts for that specific location. And that was really helpful for us because we'd already done the research of, the catchment areas, the streets, the distance to the nearest stations.
School as well.
And so we knew that if we got an alert for a property, we needed to quickly hurry up and make a call,
make the appointment
for the viewing.
Okay, so step 4 is for you to get yourself a mortgage in principle. This is as simple as you essentially contacting a mortgage company and speaking to them and getting yourself to that place where they say to you they are likely to lend you money. You are essentially credit worthy. They're happy to lend you, give you a mortgage. And by doing that, you've given yourself a bit of an advantage. How does that matter in terms of
it makes you very attractive to the buyer because you can say to them, hey, here's my mortgage in principle. And so it just shows that you're serious, you've got all your paperwork in order and you're ready to make the move.
Yes.
Step number 5 is that you've chosen the location that you want. The next step is for you to get to know the local estate agents.
Yeah, so here you're basically wanting to start to build relationships. So don't just call them and that's it. Seriously, get to know them. Like I said to Mary, some of the things that might sound a bit weird to do might be just show up with a box of chocolate, because this is how you kind of build a real relationship. And this just helps them to almost prioritize you because they know you, they've seen you, they've heard from you.
Yeah.
And they'll call you if the type of property you're looking for shows up.
They'll remember you first.
Yes.
So step number 6 is to view the property online and in person. So it's so important to do all your research online and there's so much you can know about the property before you actually go. But going there in person is so important because you can get a proper feel for what the property is like. Can you see yourself in this property?
Yes.
Even if it doesn't look so good in pictures, can you see yourself, doing the place up to your expectations, to your taste? Your taste, basically.
Tied to that is when you go in person, you can start to do really, things like, for example, if you park up on the street, how many cars drive by on that particular street that you're buying a house?
Yeah.
Because we've noticed that in the house we bought, the house we live in, it's super quiet. But you might not be that person who likes a really quiet street. You might like a bit of buzz. Or you might be the opposite like us and you really want, a really quiet area because you maybe trying to raise a family. So you only figure that out by actually showing up in person and seeing it for reality, and also going for a walk.
Go for a walk during the day, during the afternoon,
and at night. Yes,
things change. It could be so different. Like the atmosphere in the day could be so different to the atmosphere at night time. And also just talk to the owners. Like, what are the neighbours like? What is the area like? Just try and get as much information as possible. Obviously, take it with kind of a pinch of salt because they want to sell the property, but you can still get an idea and gauge like what the area and the neighbourhood is like by going there in person and just looking for yourself.
Show up more than once. So don't just go up one day, one afternoon, and one evening. Do this drive around a few times if this is a property you're really interested in, because it will help you a lot, just kind of gauge how things change over a few days.
Yeah.
Okay, so step 7 is for you to make an offer on your ideal property. Okay, so what you're doing here essentially is looking at the price that the property is priced at, and essentially making an offer either at that property price or below or above that property price, depending on how badly you want that property. We always have gone in below the asking price, but we've known people who've had to offer the asking price or offer beyond that. We normally go in below because it leaves a lot of room for negotiation, because you could spot things at a property that perhaps need a bit of work. So that gives you a bit of room to negotiate. And the property, when we bought our house, we definitely went way below and we got our asking price accepted. Yes. What else should you be watching out for?
Yes. So also when you're there, ask them, what things are going to stay behind. So what fixtures and fittings can you negotiate for them to leave in the property for you? So for example, we were able to negotiate the fridge.
The big fridge.
Big fridge, and also
the bar stools. We had those in our home. Just various things like that we liked in the house. If you're that person buying, make sure you look out for those things and put them into your negotiations when you make your offer. And I should mention, by the way, you can make the offer either over the phone via your estate agent, or you can make the offer again via your estate agent in writing. We always prefer to do it in writing because there will be inevitably a bunch of arm wrestles going on, and you can follow the trail of how the prices have changed over time as those negotiations happen.
One more thing to add is that when you make the offer, do ask the seller to actually take the property off the market. This will help to avoid you being gazumped.
Yes, such an important point.
Okay, guys, so you now have your offer accepted. Congratulations.
Yeah, awesome.
So the next step is for you to get a very good mortgage. So it depends on what type of person you are as to whether you get a fixed term mortgage where you know how much you're paying out every month. Predict it. Or if you're somebody that likes a bit of risk and you can kind of predict the markets or try to, then you can opt for a tracker mortgage.
And the tracker is really important, especially now that we are in super low interest rate environments. Interest rates have remained low for quite some time. For a lot of people, they're paying their rates at super low rates. So you might be confident enough that the interest rates are not going to be changing. And so you might go for a tracker. But for a lot of people who buy their first properties, fixed rates are pretty common because people want to know, they want to be able to budget and know exactly how much they're paying. This point, by the way, is actually a really important point about getting a good mortgage deal, because as we've mentioned in previous videos about how to pay off your mortgage early, a big part of this whole thing is making overpayments, for example. So you might want to try and look for mortgage deals that might not have a 10% overpayments cap, for example. And those are available, by the way, simply by you using a mortgage advisor and making sure that they're getting you deals that essentially do not have a cap. If you intend to pay off more than 10%, but of course, a 10% cap for a first-time buyer is entirely normal. And you might look to do that perhaps in the very near future.
And circumstances could change as well. So even if you didn't buy that kind of mortgage, you can always change your mortgage provider later on if your circumstances change, and you're able to pay more every month in terms of overpayments.
The other point to mention about getting a mortgage is that you have to go through an application process, and the mortgage lender will go through a process of affordability checks. So, they'll be looking at your pay slips to make sure that you're earning enough money. They'll be looking at affordability, how much are you spending every single month and how much are you keeping? Because they really want to make sure that the amount you're taking, you are actually able to afford it and pay it back. So if you're an employee, you will need pay slips ready, you might need your bills and things like that to kind of, prove that you have your finances in order and that you are somebody who pays off their debt as they take them on. If you are somebody who's self-employed, they might need to look over the last 3 years, for example, to look at your trading income and profits in order to essentially ascertain that you are somebody who is running a business essentially that gives you enough income for you to be able to afford to pay your mortgage on an ongoing basis. Because a mortgage is a long-term thing. This is perfectly normal in the environment we're living today. Affordability has become an even more important thing with many people losing their jobs and so on. So don't be surprised if a lender really goes through that extra process of checking that you can really afford a mortgage before you are giving that mortgage product. itself. Oh yeah, and just to mention as well, your credit score is super important because tied to that, they'll be doing checks on your credit report. So, you have to go through that process of getting your credit score, and you probably even need to get your credit report itself. We got our credit report with Experian, there are other providers that you can also use. Check that credit report to make sure there's nothing weird on it. Like you're not living at you're not seen to be living at the wrong address. You're registered to vote and things like that, because all those things will help to really, in effect, show you in a really good light financially. And make sure also that you don't do any credit checks, kind of building up towards when you do your mortgage application.
Yes.
That's right, because, too many credit checks essentially appear negative when it comes to you trying to apply for a product like a mortgage. Okay, so the next point is for you to find yourself a property solicitor and go through a process known as conveyancing. Conveyancing essentially is the process from when you get your offer accepted, the legal process, all the way to where you have your property completed. And the two key legal processes there really are where you exchange contracts, where essentially you buying that property becomes legally binding, and when you complete, when you essentially get your keys and move in. The process typically involves a solicitor, for example, doing various searches on the property, dealing with land registry, dealing with processing your stamp duty and various things like that.
That's right. And you don't actually have to do this via solicitor. You can also opt for a conveyancer who might not be a qualified solicitor, but they would definitely have experience in dealing with properties.
Okay, and just to add, by the way, remember, when you have a solicitor, they work for you.
Yes.
Because guess what? Who's paying them? You are, of course. So you want to make sure that they understand that point. And obviously you understand that point because they're ultimately there to help you cross that point where you become a homeowner. Think of them essentially as part of your Avengers team, together with your surveyors and all these various people come together and conspire for you to become a homeowner.
Okay, guys, so the next step is to get a proper house survey.
Oh, yes.
So we're talking here, not the one that you get from your mortgage lender, because that's just a basic survey. We're talking about an in-depth survey here where you pay around £1,000 to get an in-depth check on things which may just not stack up on the surface.
Yes.
And they're able to just check if there's anything wrong structurally with the property, things which could affect you getting the property, or also if you were potentially wanted to sell it in the future, it could affect your selling price.
Yeah, so the survey that Mary was talking about is typically called a home buyer survey. I've got to say, remember, this is the most expensive asset that you're probably going to spend money on. So you want to really make sure that you don't go cheap here. Really get a proper survey, because that survey is so detailed. In some ways, it can scare you a little bit because you look at it, you're thinking, whoa, like, what could be wrong with the property I'm buying? But it might help you spot things that might also help your negotiating position. So that's really worth making sure you get right in terms of getting yourself that proper home buyer survey.
Okay, guys, step number 11 is to arrange removals. So you're moving out from one property to your new home. Yay! So obviously here we're talking about a van. You could get a big van. A mammoth van is what they will call it if you have a lot of stuff that you want to move. Alternatively, you can just hire a van if you don't actually have that much furniture that you're moving. Or what we did, we just used our car and one other friend, and we were able to fit everything inside our two cars. And the distance, it wasn't that far.
It wasn't that far. It's about 15 minutes
drive. About 15 minute drive. So we didn't have to hire a van, but it all just depends on how much stuff you have. Just double check also the availability of the van hire. The van
and the cost. It's quite cheap doing it typically. It costs maybe £20 to £25 per hour. You might need it for 4 hours or something, or half a day. But essentially, get it scheduled, because guess what? You are moving soon. You want to make sure that as soon as you get those keys, your things are ready. And you're on it. You're moving straight away. Okay, so we're getting near the end of this process. But the thing to note is that you've got to get insurance. You need buildings insurance. And typically people buy this with contents insurance as well. The buildings insurance is one that essentially protects you because you take ownership effectively from the point of exchange of contracts.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a really important stage. Exchange of contracts is where the solicitors exchange contracts and it becomes binding. You can't back out at that stage anymore. And also, more importantly, they take the deposit from you at that stage.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure at that point that you've become essentially bound by this property purchase, that you've got buildings insurance in case like there's some random thing like a flood or like some random thing happens to the property and you don't end up with a property that is not covered. But you might also want to bundle in contents insurance because it tends to be a bit cheaper when you buy them together.
That's right. However, if you are buying a property that is a new build, you only have to make sure that the insurance kicks in on the day of completion.
Yes. Okay, so we're near the end. You're now at the next step, which is the exchange of contracts. This is such a critical stage, and you've got to have a number of things in place before you actually exchange contracts. Okay, so you've got to make sure that you've got a written mortgage offer in place. You've got to make sure that you've got yourself an agreed completion date. As I mentioned before, you've got to also make sure you've got yourself buildings insurance. These are absolutely critical because once you exchange contracts, you can pretty much breathe a sigh of relief because at this point, the chances of things falling apart or falling down are so minimalized because this is a binding stage of that transaction. Okay, final step. What happens at this stage?
This is the completion day.
Yay! You are a homeowner at this stage.
Yes, you finally get to move into your property. This is when you go to your estate agents and you pick up those keys and you move into your property. You walk in and you chill and relax, give each other a high five. If you move in with a partner, then this is where all the excitement begins.
And I remember this stage for us when we got our keys and driving up to the property and the neighbors kind of looking out to see who the new people are and stuff, going up to that door, and we actually filmed this, kind of opened the door and kind of walked into the house for the first time, and it's a really magical step, isn't it? When you
very memorable.
Yeah, because it's a really can be quite a challenging process buying your first home and really getting to that point where you've completed successfully. And it can feel quite scary because you've taken on a mortgage. You've got a lot more responsibility now, but it's really exciting as well because you really have a home, a house that's now going to become a home over time.
Yes. So guys, we hope that was useful. If there was anything that we didn't cover that you would want us to go into more detail, so just to help you get on that property ladder, do let us know.
Yes.
Is there anything you want us to go into in more detail? Is there anything that you feel that we missed off? Or anything you want us to elaborate, let us know. We want to help you get onto that property ladder fast and start building your wealth journey.
Yes, would love to know actually. Let us know in the comments, where are you on your property buying journey? Do you already own your first property, or are you at that stage where you are perhaps saving money towards a property and you're trying to buy your first home as a first-time buyer? Let us know in the comments because it really matters, as Mary indicated, on that path towards you building wealth and ultimately making financial independence a core goal in your life. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video today.
Guys.
We really hope you really enjoyed it. If you liked it, of course, hit that like button.
Yes.
It really helps to encourage a ton more people to engage with our videos. If you're new to our channel, or if you've been watching for some time, come on, hit that subscribe button, as well as that notifications bell, so you get notified when we publish our videos, typically twice a week on a Tuesday as well as a Thursday. Thank you so much for watching this video today, guys.
And in all things, be thankful and seek
joy.
joy.
Take care.
Take care.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.